Welcome to Jurassic Park.
What's going on, everybody? Today I'm revisiting a character that when he first dropped, I honestly didn't know how to feel about. In a game full of fan favorites, the Rivals devs choosing to add Devil Dinosaur was definitely a wild pick. But honestly, after getting to play him, I think it worked out for the best. Out of all the tanks in game, I see Devil Dinosaur constantly. So today, instead of playing alongside this monstrous beast, we're going to learn how to play him and do my very best to try and play him well. I also want to take a quick dive into his origins and his in-game lore, because let's be real, who doesn't love a big, badass dinosaur? And of course, I'll briefly cover his most recent nerfs, and whether I think he's still viable or needs to be shelved until the devs fix him. With all that being said, let me know down in the comments how you feel about Devil Dino, and now let's dive straight in. Before we get into the nerfs or his lore, I want to start with the basics of his kit. For starters, Dino's got a simple 3-bite combo that inflicts bleed based on percentage damage. It's straightforward, but it adds up really fast, especially if you try and target a flyer or a lone support that tries to hover in the backline. Savage Predation is one of my favorite parts of his kit. Being able to displace enemies is always a bonus for tanks, and Dino does it in a way that feels both chaotic and satisfying. His Stealth Shield is great for pushing up, and Frenzied Feast, turning damage dealt into bonus health, really makes him feel like a brick wall once he gets rolling. Of course, you can never go wrong with having a beam attack. His beam attack inflicts bleed and slow. I love using it to target supports or flyers who think they're safe, staying away from the rest of their team. Lastly, his ultimate is probably one of my favorites in the game right now. It's literally just a giant rampaging dinosaur, and you can never go wrong with that. Now that we've covered what Dino can do, let's talk about how the devs decided to tone him down. So, about the latest nerfs that he received in patch 8.5 with the newest season, Dino definitely got smacked around a bit. Impact Beam no longer knocks enemies down, the Buddy Barrier cooldown jumped from 10 seconds to 12, and his Bleed DOT was toned down from 3% to 1.5% per second. Dino got hit pretty hard, and like I mentioned earlier, I didn't play him on release, so I missed that era where he was apparently terrorizing lobbies like a prehistoric fever dream. But, from everything I heard, Dino used to be that tank where if you saw him on the enemy team, you were like, oh great, I have to fight this guy all over again. I don't think these changes slow him down that much though. Sure, losing the knockdown and having a slightly longer cooldown on his bubble shield means you need to play a bit more defensive, but it's nowhere near sending him all the way down to F tier. The bleed nerf is actually fine. It tones down the nonsense without killing his damage, and I think having a DOT on a tank is still a super fun design choice. It opens the door for more characters to get bleed style effects, or maybe even a fire DOT later on. Dino isn't just a gameplay kit though. He actually has some fun lore behind him, both in Marvel Comics and in Rivals. In Marvel Comics, Devil Dinosaur originally came from an alternate prehistoric world called Dinosaur World, where he fought alongside his first partner, Moon Boy. That was his classic era, the old school stories where he was basically a hyper-intelligent T-Rex surviving cosmic threats, tribal conflicts, and time travel chaos. But modern Marvel really redefined him when he teamed up with Lunella Lafayette, better known as Moon Girl. She's a super genius kid from the present-day New York, and after a dimensional mishap brings Devil Dinosaur into her world. The two of them become one of Marvel's most iconic modern duos. Their dynamic, with her brain and his brawn, is what pushed Devil Dinosaur into mainstream popularity, leading to comics, animated series, and tons of modern appearances. Rivals keeps that same energy. While the game doesn't dive super deep into personal relationships, it leans into his role as a massive, unstoppable force pulled into a multiversal conflict. He's portrayed as a creature with history, purpose, and ties to the wider Marvel universe. Not just a big red dino, but a character with real legacy behind him. So with all that in mind, his kit, his nerfs, and now his lore, let's wrap this up with my final thoughts on the character. For a character I really wasn't hyped about upon release, Dino has completely changed my perspective on tanking and my overall enjoyment on playing that role. When I first picked him up, I'm not gonna lie, he felt pretty clunky at times. But if you put the time in to learn the character, you're rewarded with a giant red beam firing monster who can punish overextending DPS players or the unlucky support who wandered too far from their team. If you're new from the game or tanking in general, I don't recommend starting with Dino as he can feel awkward to play. But once you feel more comfortable with being the damage sponge for your team, I absolutely think he's worth giving a shot. Dino also fills a really unique niche in Rivals. He's not your typical shield bot tank or your slow, lumbering frontline. He's aggressive, disruptive, and surprisingly high damage for his role. If you enjoy tanks that let you play proactively instead of reactively, Dino might end up being one of your favorites. He rewards smart positioning, good timing, and a little bit of chaos. And that's what makes him so fun. With that being said, let's bring this video home. So, let me know how you guys feel about Devil Dinosaur down in the comments. Did you play him on release? Were you excited for him? Or was he a character you also passed on? As always, thank you all for watching the video. While you're here, don't forget to leave a like, drop a comment, and subscribe to the channel. It really helps out more than you know and keeps the content rolling. I appreciate you all for hanging out with me today, and I hope this breakdown helps you get a better feel for Dino. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care, stay safe, and keep dominating out there.